Welcome once again to another long overdue episode of the Throne of Angels video blog. As always, I'm your host with the hammer, Mr. Derek Osborne, here to show you a world or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 12 or 20 in miniature. Now, with that being said, Oz, why are you long overdue? Well, a couple of reasons. First reason, started a new job a couple of months ago and wanted to get my schedule hammered out, so to speak, flattened, set, prepared. I just wanted to work on my schedule. That's why. And part two, for the last 2 years, I've been traveling every 2 to 3 weeks, right? So when you get on an airplane every 12 to 18 days, it makes it very, very difficult to actually do this, right? It makes it really tough. I tried and I failed, and for that I apologize. So with the new schedule, hopefully we'll have more regular content going up on the YouTube channel. What does that mean? And why is all this stuff here? Well, that means that I do have more time to actually sit down and paint. I also have more time to sit down and edit film, right? And I do have more time to stand here and make film. And so with that, coming up in 2019, I'm only traveling a few times. I've got a few shows to go to, but as I said, I'm not going somewhere every 12 to 18 days. For those of you who've never done that, it's rough, right? It's rough. It's hard to go out of the house constantly, right? I mean, 19 to 22 times a year is what I was averaging for the last 2 years. Not fun. The traveling is, no, it sucks. Especially for a guy who doesn't like to travel. I don't like to travel, but it is what it is, right? Sometimes it comes with the job that you take. So with that, let's get back to this. Oz, what do you got here? I got a whole bunch of stuff here. I have a bunch of projects in various states, right? Well, why? Why do you have a bunch of projects in various states, Oz? Well, it's really simple. Because I am a hobby raven. What does that mean? It means I've got raven syndrome like nobody's business. Ooh, shiny. I run off and, ooh, shiny. I know you guys get it, right? Some of you have it, some of you don't. I'm not a guy that has a game, right? I don't have one game that I focus on, and I definitely don't have one army in a game, right? I think I have 8 or 9 armies just for Age of Sigmar alone. Wild West Exodus, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6 forces for Wild West Exodus, and honestly, at this moment, I have never actually played the game in its current iteration, right? I played Mark 1 before I went to War Cradle Studios, but I have not played it yet, and I have 6 armies for it. That's my problem, right? I love the concept of building an army and collecting the pieces for said army and then putting it together. When I put it together, whenever. It just happens. For me, it's kind of organic. I'm one of those guys that enjoys going from project to project. Unless I have a deadline, I don't care if it gets finished, right? Some of you guys have to finish a project, some of you don't. I like skirmish games because it allows me to work on one little force and then jump to something else and work on another force, right? I've got a dwarf army here, which is like 100 models. It's going to take me 6 months to paint, and I know this, right? I already know this. However, I keep it front and center to force myself to refocus on it. On top of that, basically the deal I've made with myself is I paint one unit in between whatever else I'm doing, right? So with what I have here, I kind of changed my focus and changed a little bit of how I address my Raven syndrome. And it's been a long time coming. It's been something that's needed to happen because this bunker only has so much space, and quite honestly, I've for the lack of a better term, filled it up, right? I have too much stuff in this little room, and I've got a pile of stuff that I have to get rid of, or that I know that I'll never, ever get to. So, I mean, like a second copy of Shadespire. Why do I need a second copy of Shadespire? I don't know. It just happened to show up here for some reason. I have a copy there, excuse me, I have a copy here, and I have another copy over there. And that one's got to go, because I don't even have this one assembled yet. So that's what I'm talking about. I've got things over here on my miniature display that had to get filtered out to somebody else. Somebody who may use them, or somebody who just collects stuff like I do. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. It's got to go. However, this stuff here has got to get done. Now, what does that mean? Well, like I said, I've got my Age of Sigmar Rackham Dwarf army that I've been working on, and I know it's going to take me an extended period of time because I know how I go about my hobby. I've got a circle force right here that is really close to being done, and what it is stuff that's been sitting on my desk for an extended period of time. Now, a few months ago, I was down here for a couple hours, was painting something, and I walked out, and as I went to turn off the light, I looked back, and everything was a mess, right? Oh, my painting desk was a disaster, my airbrush station was a disaster, my gaming table, which is what this is, was a disaster. So I took a picture of it, and I posted it on social media, and basically forced myself to make a decision. And what decision did I make? Well, it was really simple. If something was sitting on my painting desk for more than 3 months, it had to get finished and get off my painting desk. If it was there for less than 3 months, it got put away and couldn't get touched until the stuff that was 6 months or 3 months or older got finished. And that was what most of this circle is, right? There's another model over there that is just kind of a painting project that doesn't necessarily fit into anything other than, hey, I'm just painting this for fun. Doesn't go to a game. It's just a random troll model. It's actually the little brother to these guys from Atlantis Miniatures. Lovely, lovely model. But I was just doing some test paint schemes on it, so it's got like 4 or 5 different random colors on it. It really just needs to be stripped and reprimed and set on its merry way. I either need to paint it for a purpose, or, like I said, it needs to be stripped and put away. But with that being said, I had a Company of Iron challenge for Adepticon with a couple buddies of mine. Well, what happened? I finished kind of like my core 20 points, but we had settled on 25 points, so that means I didn't exactly finish. Now, I finished more than they did, but I finished my core 20. Neither one of them finished their core 20. However, we had one guy who had some work things come up, so he couldn't come, right? He's like, I can't go to Adepticon, so like the last minute, we just scrapped the challenge and the project, and they sat, it did nothing. Couple that with the fact that a couple years ago, when Privateer Press went to Mark III and they released their new battle boxes, I grabbed the new Circle battle box and I was like, sweet, new caster, new warlock, and new plastics. I'm gonna check it out. I brought it home, I put them together, and they've been sitting on my desk ever since. Right, that was like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, something like that. So I forced myself again to clear my desk of the projects that have been sitting there for longer than 3 months. And by clearing it, I mean finishing them, right? That's the deal I made with myself. I have to finish the project to get it off my desk if it's been there for more than 3 months. If it's been less than 3 months, it has to get put away until I get this stuff done. And so I got the Wolves of Orboros done, I got the battle box done, and I'm about 80% on Tanith. She needs, detail work and some love. But for the most part, the Company of Iron Force and the battle box, they're done, right? They're finished. Now, what does that mean for my circle? This is a completely new paint scheme from what I've done in the past. All my old circle stuff looks nothing like this. So quite honestly, that means I either have to repurchase and repaint, or I have to strip and repaint to match this. I don't know how motivated I am to do that. Probably not very motivated at all, because Hordes and War Machine is not a game that I'm actively playing at the moment. But I've got a really pretty little force here that if I do want to play it, I got something that I can start out with. Now, what else does that mean in regards to what's sitting on my desk? Well, once I get her done, that means I can jump into my next challenge with my buddy Chris. Again, one of the guys that was part of the Company of Iron challenge. But we have a Wild West Exodus challenge. So that Wild West Exodus challenge is going to come to fruition at Adepticon. I'm going to bring a couple of forces because my buddy Jan is going to be there. He's going to be helping me out in the Army Painter booth. You guys might know him by the name of Devil Squid. But he'll be there with some Hex. So I'm got an order force to face his Hex. I've got over on my painting desk a secret project that is set for Chris. I'm not going to show you guys that because it's a secret project. But again, that's what I'm building to face Chris. So I've got 2 Wild West Exodus forces that I need to get done before Adepticon. Well, what that means for me is that means I will basically hammer down and work on these one force at a time until they're finished. So come the end of the year, I'll probably have 2 Wild West Exodus forces done. But again, the deal I made with myself with the Dwarf Army is from here, I jump in, do a unit of Dwarves, and then I get to work on a Wild West Exodus force. And then a unit of Dwarves, not getting divorced, a unit of Dwarves back to a Wild West Exodus force. In the meantime, I'll probably interject and work on some terrain, right? I've got the TH Miniatures lava set here that has been sitting for a while, needs to get done. And I'll show you guys my Burster Deadzone mess. This is cool, it'll be fun. If you guys haven't played Deadzone, you should. It's a phenomenal game. But I've got my Bursters that will be part of a larger warpath or firefight force for Deadzone sitting here, right? We'll talk about these bases in a minute. But anyways, I've also got this piece here. This is a phenomenal sculpt by a friend of mine, Crystal Land of Crystal's Chimeras. We've talked about it before, and I've showed a little bit of it before. But I was going to do a painting tutorial on this model for her. In fact, send it back to her. This has been sitting on my desk for well over a year, and I have failed her miserably. Crystal, if you're watching, I'm sorry. My job created this massive travel mess, and it just made my life hard. So this is something I've got to get done, right? I'll, over the next couple of weeks, basically sit down, film a tutorial, and get this back off to Crystal. That leaves, well, nothing on the table, right? That means I've got everything on the table addressed. Will it all get done quickly? Probably not. Will it all get done? Of course it will, right? It's just, for me, this is what I'm going to focus on for the next couple of months. Well, and that over there, right? Can't talk about that secret. Shh. But there's nothing else that is going to suck up any of my time, right? The Tau took a back seat. I've got the vampires over there. They took a back seat. I've got like 17 armies literally right next to the camera. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 3 more down there, 16 and 17. Yeah, there's 17 armies in boxes right next to the camera. That doesn't include this stuff or the Eden or, there literally are, these boxes are all full, right? So we've got terrain over here and more terrain here and more terrain here. This stuff luckily is all pre-painted. This, however, is not, right? That's not painted. Deadzone Warpath armies. Wrath of Kings. Not even going to talk about what's in the closet. Not going to talk about my dust. So, there's a lot going on, right? Oh, and I've got a project coming up with Ray, a friend of mine. We'll get into that next episode, maybe, or the episode after. I don't know. It'll be soon. That's something we're doing for his son. It'll be fun. And with that, let's get up close and personal. The first thing we are going to take a look at is this completed Company of Iron Force plus Battle box set. As you can see right here on screen right, we've got a number of Wolves of Orboros, and we've got some Skinwalkers and a Skinwalker Alpha, and we've got Morag. I love this model. This is like one of my favorite circle models. He's just fantastic. Beautiful pose. Great little, he's just got attitude all over the place. Cool little shield. He's got a pretty sweet sword, right? That little double cleft blade that he's got. His cloak, back. All sorts of killer. Love painting that guy. It was fun. Haven't done the mounted version yet because, well, you can't have mounted versions in Company of Iron. These are all metals, right? So I've got old school circle models. All this stuff is metal before it rotated to plastic. Now, I've been asked multiple times, hey, what paint should you use on these models, man? Well, one of these days I'll get around to posting the recipe. So, I am one of those guys that literally writes all of my paint schemes down. So this is my Company of Iron paint scheme. 4 pages of it. So there's a lot of paint in there, a lot of steps, but it is actually very quick because it is base coats with some strategic washes and glazes, as well as some what I like to call overbrushing or wet highlighting, where I keep the paint really, really wet It's almost a two-brush blending style, but you're just using a single brush and, for lack of better term, smearing the paint around. Now, battle box, obviously, on the left. We've got the old Feral Warp Wolf. These are the new plastics. It's lightweight. I like the model. I love the pose on the new Gorax. He's a lot of fun. This is a great model. I like the old model, but I like the new one even better. And then clearly we have an Argus and the Feral Song herself. Now again, this is the only model that isn't done. Obviously the base isn't done. They still have quite a bit to do in regards to detailing her. She is also the only one that has any gold on her. If you guys are paying attention, everybody else is just silver in regards to their metals. So that is the current circle project as I am blasting through it and trying to finish it up so I can move on to some Wild West Exodus. And with that, we'll segue into some Wild West Exodus. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Wild West Exodus, it is a small skirmish game. You get posses. There's a starter box. I guess it's in a box. I'm just saying. I'll grab the starter and actually show you, but you don't have a starter. This is the Divine Intervention posse, as I just showed you, plus a bunch of other models. So that model, that model, that model, that model. They don't come in the Divine Intervention box. You just get these models and their cards in the Divine Intervention box. Bases, obviously. But I stuffed like all of my additional singles in this box because, well, they fit and it's easy storage. But I do still have some in blisters, right? I have a few in blisters. These models are awesome. Let's take a look at 1 or 2 or 4 or 12 or no, let's just pull one out of this. I don't know who this is, so we'll just take a look at what's going on. Some of these models are resin. Clearly this one is resin, and some of these models are plastic. All right, so this is the leader of the Divine Intervention posse, right? Her name is, right here, Makara. That's this chick here. She's a centaur-looking thing. Now, as you can see, we've got some finely detailed resin from the folks over at War Cradle Studios. This is just a quick look, obviously. We're not going to do anything in depth, but I don't know if I'm actually going to use her in my list that I'm taking with me to Adepticon. There is another posse that is portal based, which are these things here. And basically these are just their teleportation portals. You stick one over here and you stick one over here and you go in this one and you come out that one, right? You've got models that have portal manipulation like this one here. She is different in the new version. Basically she has been renamed. Okay, look, more portals. I have 6. And I don't recall her name off the top of my head. Doesn't matter because I'm, like I said, not doing a full review at the moment. But this is from the original set, which was done by Outlaw Miniatures. Some of these models have changed, some of them have not. If the sculpts needed to be updated, War Cradle decided that they were going to do all the updates, and they have been doing quite a bit in regards to re-releasing stuff. The Divine Intervention Posse being one such set where they decided to do some extra work. Now, these are kind of like your good guy paladins, right? I really like this model. It's like literally one of my favorite tanks, period. And it's a solid block of resin. And then we've got a bunch of the mono wheels. Love these things too. These are cool as hell. So I got 4 of those, 1 of these, a bunch of portals, guys that can go in and out of them, and a few dudes with some big guns, right? Because quite honestly, that is a big ass gun, right? There's your BFG. So that is coming up. We'll take a look at progress on the dwarves, and then maybe move to Deadzone. All right. Yeah, a little Matthew McConaughey to start this one off, eh? Okay, for those of you who have not been following along with this outlandishly ridiculous project, I'll fill you in. This is my confrontation, my Rackham confrontation Age of Sigmar Duardin force, right? So I've got basically a bunch of stand-ins. These obviously are all proxy models, since every single one of them is a confrontation model. Now, there's like 110 or 112 models in the army. It's pretty big. It is a core force of basic Duardin. There are some Caradron overlords, and the big dragon. Basically, he's my stand-in for the elf dragon magic guy. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it is. I have it written down somewhere where I could pull the book out and take a look, but quite honestly, I don't care at the moment. Got a lot to cover. But, so, when I start out, I actually prime them with a Stynylrez brown primer you can see on the base there. And then I give them I wouldn't really call it a zenithal highlight, but it's close. It's way more than a zenithal highlight because I really want to overly color their skin. And I actually use the Stynylrez light skin for that. And then basically I just add color to darken them up and give them really bright golds. And then I use blues and greens as the highlight colors, as you can see. I've got a few models here to look at. Here's a unit leader. He's an angry, pissed off dwarf guy. Here's another guy from his unit. So as you can see, I'm going kind of dark skin, right? This is one of my Caradron Overlord Sky Rocketeer guys. I don't remember what unit he is. Now I took some liberties and I actually drilled a giant hole in the bottom of this guy so I could use an old Tau flying stand and put them on a flying base because that's fun, that's cool. Now these guys, same thing, right? I used the Stynylrez brown, the deep brown as the base, and then I overshot them with the Stynylrez metallic silver. Same thing with my hammers, right? As well as whatever I'm using the longsword guys for. And then this is how the longsword guys end up. So, big giant dragon. I've got a dwarf on the dragon. I've got dwarves and dwarves and dwarves and more dwarves. Like I said, about 110, 112 of them. Which is why I'm doing one unit. Effectively, I'm just calling 10 guys a unit because there's really only two units. There's a unit of like 40 and a unit of 30 and then a bunch of small 10-man units of like these guys. But, and these guys. For the most part, I'm just doing 10 guys at a time, right? Get 10 guys done, and then move on to a different project. Then get 10 guys done, and move on to a different project. So that's the dwarves. And again, we'll look at Deadzone really quick, and then we'll probably just hit the wrap. Some of you may be familiar with the game Deadzone. Some of you may not be. Well, these guys are basically plague. That's the army they come from. They come from the plague. So this is Stelson Wire, otherwise known as Subject 901. He's got a great backstory. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Go read the book. The rest of these guys are Stage 2B. I believe it's Stage 2B bursters. And yes, they do explode. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of them. And they run around and hammer things with their big, meaty fists. And when they die, they get blowed up. Now, I've been rather hesitant to start this army because the bases that come with Deadzone weird me out. Why? I don't know. I have zero idea as to why they weird me out. They're just regular discs, but they're shiny plastic discs, and that just feels off to me. So I don't know how I'm going to base them. Lately, as you saw with my Circle Army, anytime I have that, I've got a huge collection of the CMON mass bases, or the base inserts. So I use those for any armies that have that style of base, right? The curved lip base. 40K stuff, I use any various different things, but for the most part, generally we'll use a secret weapon resin because I have good access to those, or I will jump in and use a base topper from Death Ray Designs. Sometimes I'll do it the old-fashioned way and, throw down some sand and flock, and I've just kind of gotten out of that. I don't do that so much anymore. There's so many options that I can just build off of in regards to either precast resins or base toppers that I can add to, right? Now, when I do put a base topper down, it doesn't stop me there. I don't just put a base topper down and paint it. Normally, I add things to it, depending upon what the army is. Where if I do a normal base, right, so we'll pull the dwarves out again really quick. On the dwarves, and I did a video showing the base roller, or not the base, well, yeah, it is a base roller. Basically, the reverse rollers that I use from Green Stuff World, I use those a lot. However, I don't have anything that I feel is pertinent for Deadzone, so I'm kind of at a loss and haven't started. Really, I haven't started this army for that reason and that reason alone. As you can see, I've got them all put together. Right, I've got green stuff where it needs to be. I've got all the holes epoxied and all the stuff filled. But as you can see, I have 8 completely different models here. None of them the same. A couple of them have these like crazy octopus looking limbs. Right, we got goofy looking leg here and this big old glubby arm. But there was such a variety. There's only 2 bodies, but different arms, different faces. Right, they all have different looks to them, different appearances, which is awesome because this body and this body and this body are all the same. This body and this body and this body are the same. These 2 bodies are the same as those. But as you can see, the models are completely different, which is great because it gives you a lot of variety without having to do a lot of work. Right, I literally just had to change which arms I put where. As you can see, those 2 arms are the same, but they're on different bodies and they're with 2 different arms and 2 different legs, and so they look different. Right, I'm sure I could find 2 more arms that are the same. Yep, those 2 arms are the same. However, those 2 arms, not the same. Well, they might be, but I have them positioned differently, so they don't look the same. But you get what I'm saying? A lot of difference in these models. Plus, they're metal, so it makes them heavy. And I like metal models still. I'm one of those crazy guys that still likes metal, heavy models. I don't know why. I just do. I like the feel of the heft of it. But, as we move further into the ease of casting resin and getting stuff done in plastic, it's changing to plastic, right? Some of the new Deadzone stuff, the new plastics are phenomenal. We'll take a look at some of that stuff when I start building armies for Warpath. Some of the Forge Father stuff, which are basically their dwarves, have plastics. Those kits are amazing. The Vanguard, the Kickstarter that just shipped from Mantic, I don't know, about a month ago. Man, the plastics in there, outstanding. Ronnie and crew have done a really, really good job at upping their level of detail in their products. And so we'll start seeing some more of those as I find more people to play Vanguard and Deadzone. But with that, I think we're going to just call it good and roll to the wrap. And that is wrap. 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 Parappa the Rappa? No. Parappa the paintbrush, right? The wrap brought to you by Artis Opus? No, that's not how it goes. However, as I was talking about them earlier, I forgot to mention that they did do the Don't Drink Me coffee mug I recommended that they do during the Kickstarter. But I will be talking about these brushes in the future for 2 reasons. One, the guys that own Artis Opus are personal friends of mine. I love them. They're fantastic dudes. And 2, they actually make a good product. So that's a win-win on my end. They'll get talked about. All right, back to the table. Right, the table. This is going to go in the case. I got a squad or a unit of dwarves that has to get painted. Terrain, Deadzone, Wild West Exodus, right? Like I told you guys a few times at least, I bounce from project to project to project. It's what I do. I've been doing it for 30 years, and that's not going to change. So, when I have something that needs to get done, it gets done. Otherwise, it's just sporadic and fun. Dog's barking if you can hear him. He's a nut job. It's fine. St. Bernard, 170 pounds. He's a big boy. He's cool. Anyways, if there's something specific that you guys want to see that I have on the table, up close and personal, or even something I've talked about that is part of my project log in the last year or so, hey, let me know in the comments below. Are you guys ravens like me? You guys sticklers for projects and you like start something and you're laser focused until it's done? Let's open up this discussion, right? Let me know how you guys pursue your hobby in the comment section. This is definitely something I enjoy talking about, and it's something that I bring up from time to time when I've got friends over and we're either doing some hobby stuff or we're playing a game or whatever. Because it's always fun to talk about new projects and to brainstorm and, just to kind of talk about things you want to do or things that you're interested in. With that, I think we have come to the close of another long overdue episode. So hopefully we'll see you guys in 2. Hopefully. Maybe sooner. With that, I'm out!